If you use VA healthcare, can the VA reduce your VA disability rating? This is a question that I get and I see all the time, and the answer is much more nuanced than a simple no or a simple yes. And so what we're going to start with are the actual protections for VA ratings, which people get wrong all the time. And to be clear, there are only three protections, and that's the book technical answer. And then I'm going to give you the real answer, right? So two different answers. They are essentially the same. So I also had my own VA healthcare appointment at the Washington, D.C. Medical Center today, and I'm going to talk about that as well. So first off, the 5-year rule is not a protection, and we're going to get into that for the real answer. But the very first protection layer veterans have is the 10-year rule. The 10-year rule actually protects your service connection. The 5-year rule has no protection clause at all. The 10-year rule does. Now, if fraud is involved, obviously the 10-year rule does not apply. The next protection is the 20-year rule. So this protects your actual rating for that disability. So let's say I'm rated for mental health at 50%. 10 years go by, my service connection for mental health is protected. And 20 years go by, my 50% rating for mental health is protected. Now, let's say I had an increase at my 15-year mark and now I'm rated at 70%. When 20 years go by, my 50% is still protected. Whenever I had my increase for 70, 20 more years will go by, and then you'll be protected. At that point, you'll probably be dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. So we have the 10-year rule and the 20-year rule. I'm a little sick still. I got a cough drop in my mouth. I apologize. The third protection and final protection is when the VA schedule of rating changes. Now, this matters because we see mental health, tinnitus, and sleep apnea, among other things like neurological conditions, likely coming this year. And when a schedule of rating change happens, your rating is protected under the previous criteria. The VA cannot take or change your rating based on the new criteria. Now, if you submit an increase after the changes, then so be it. But there you have it. That's the book answer. And now let's get into the real answer. And so listen to me straight up. Just don't say anything stupid and just receive right now. If your condition is static, you're good to go. You have nothing to worry about. Disabilities can be deemed static once your service is connected. And if not, then you'll have a routine future exam. But to be honest with you, the VA has really been getting away from RFEs, routine future exams lately. And most conditions are static out the gate. At the 5-year mark, the VA will deem your conditions that weren't static. The VA will now need evidence to look into your rating, and they can't just do it just because. And the same applies to the 10-year rule when it comes to evidence to actually look into that rating. Now, the 55-year rule is pretty much the same thing as the 5-year rule. You're just 55 years older or older. It means your conditions are static, with the exceptions of like cancers going to remission and stuff like that. So if you're all PNT means is that your conditions are static and they add up to at least 95%. So same, you're good. You have nothing to worry about. Now, what does that mean about going to see VA healthcare? And I just had my VA healthcare appointment today, which, by the way, was a surreal experience. From the front door to my primary care clinic, I had 8 people stop me and say, "Hey, CIVDIV," and they thank me for the channel and they appreciated the channel. And it's a super weird feeling for me, especially when I'm at my own healthcare appointment. But it made me realize, how much these stupid YouTube videos are actually helping the veteran community. So I appreciate that. Everyone who stopped and said something, it made me feel really weird, but I definitely appreciate that, okay? And if you're a hater, go ahead and hate on that. You can just suck on that for a second. Anyways, back to VA healthcare appointments. If you are miraculously healed, right? Jesus himself has healed you. Hallelujah, which is a good thing, by the way. Yes, the VA can reduce your rating. Now, to be clear, what does not happen is when you have your VA appointment, your regional office, the alarms come on, wee woo, and then the VA starts looking into your VA rating. It's not a real thing, okay? But let's say you did have a routine future exam, and if you have one, it'll be in your decision letter. It'll tell you you have an RFE. If you don't see it, your condition's static, FYI. You going to that appointment or whatever appointment you go to, that is all evidence. And you can bet your bottom dollar that if you have been healed and you have a routine future exam, the VA is going to reduce that rating, right? In the same instance, if you're static or PNT, or you really don't have anything to worry about, right? Now, the chances of you being healed are slim to none. I kind of use that as a joking matter. Your conditions are static because you have been deemed chronic and not likely to improve over the span of your life. So you really don't have anything to worry about. Healthcare is important. You need to go see healthcare. Now I'm going to talk about my appointments. We really talked about a few things. I'm going to bring up two things we talked about. At my appointment, I spoke to my doctor about not wanting to take medication. Okay. So sumatriptan for my migraines will knock me out completely. I don't have to worry about my migraine being prostrating or debilitating because when I take my medication, I'm going to go to sleep anyways, right? So it is debilitating in that sense. I personally asked for a non-invasive treatment like gammaCore, more to follow on that here in the future, or some other device. So we're going to see what that looks like here soon because I'm just not a big fan of medication. That's a personal thing for me. You can make that decision for yourself. And we also talked about mental health. And for me, I've told the VA multiple times straight up that the treatment plan that I was on at the VA, I hated it. I didn't like it at all. And years ago, I've transitioned to a more faith-based route with my support system at my local church, which is clearly outside the VA. And the reason I'm sharing this is because healthcare is important, and veterans need to focus on their health and take it very seriously. There's no reason to lie to your healthcare team at all. That's also fraud. Okay, just food for thought. There's fraud for benefits and fraud for healthcare. Fraud is fraud. Don't forget that. But for multiple reasons, you should be speaking to your healthcare team. Don't lie to them, but mainly because it's your health we're talking about. I've had multiple people, more than one occasion, okay? Veterans ask me if they should stop taking their hypertensive medication for a VA rating. And listen to me, that's the dumbest thing I've ever been asked, okay? Of all the dumb questions I've been asked, that's hands down number one. To be clear, that answer is no. So if you're wondering what that answer is, it's no. I also wouldn't take medical advice from someone in their basement on YouTube. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below if you made it this far. I definitely appreciate it. Do you use VA healthcare? Do you use private insurance? What does your healthcare routine look like for you? I definitely want to know.